Hello friends and welcome back to Anonymous Diary. Today's story comes from the relationship subreddit. It was posted on March 3rd, 2026 and was titled, "Found out my new partner is just cheating, not poly and I just feel so stupid." If you enjoy these type of videos, do drop a like and comment how you feel about this scenario. I love hearing your opinions on these dilemmas. Now let's get started.
I am fully polyamorous and somehow still got cheated on. Now I feel like an idiot for being upset. But I'm not crazy, and I refuse to let him make me feel like I am. A few months ago, I started seeing someone, 48 years old, described himself as poly, regularly attended local poly events, had several other partners. On paper, he was exactly what he said he was. I had no reason to doubt him. For context, my husband and I have been together for 11 years. We opened our relationship 6 years ago and have been fully polyamorous for 18 months. Between us, it has been smooth sailing. We are honest with each other. We communicate. We have built something solid and intentional, and it works. So when I met this man and things moved quickly, I wasn't alarmed. The connection was intense on both sides. There were a couple of red flags early on, things he said about how much he needed our dynamic, how much he craved it. But I know how new relationship energy works, and I know how people can get when they are new to power exchange. I kept my boundaries solid. I stayed grounded. Then came the overnight. We had planned an intense scene together. It was physically and emotionally vulnerable in every sense. I opened up to him about personal things I was going through because I felt safe. I trusted him with parts of myself I don't hand over easily. The next morning, as I was walking out the door, he told me an ex was coming to stay with him from out of state for a month, and we wouldn't be able to see each other. Something felt off. I couldn't shake it. So I pushed a little, and the whole thing unraveled. This wasn't an ex, this was a woman he had been dating exclusively right before he moved. They never officially broke up. She is monogamous. She has no idea he has been seeing other people. He tried to tell me it was fine because things were never officially labeled. That is just cheating. That is just straight up cheating with extra words around it. And then, as if that wasn't enough, he texted me asking to meet up secretly while she was there. Because the connection was too addictive to wait. He wanted me to help him cheat on the woman he was already cheating on. I shut that down immediately. I shut all of it down. But here is what I can't stop thinking about. He knew. He knew the whole time we were together that night. He knew when I opened up to him. He knew when I made myself vulnerable. And he said nothing until I had one foot out the door. That is not a mistake. That is manipulation. I don't feel crazy for being upset. I feel upset because I was deceived by someone who used the language and spaces of ethical non-monogamy as a cover for just being a cheater. And that is so much worse in a way, because the whole foundation of what we do is honesty. He knew that. He used it anyway.
Okay, so just from the title alone, this is already sending me. I am fully polyamorous and somehow still got cheated on. And I need everyone to pause on that for a second because this woman had already done everything right. She and her husband built an open relationship over years, with honesty and communication and actual intentional structure. She was not sneaking around. She was not hiding anything. She had created a whole framework specifically designed so that nobody had to lie to anybody, and this man still found a way to cheat. He took the most honesty-forward relationship structure that exists and still chose deception. That takes a special kind of audacity. And can we talk about the vetting situation for a second, because on paper this man looked completely legitimate. He described himself as poly. He attended local poly events regularly. He had multiple other partners in the community. He was not some newcomer who stumbled in not knowing the rules. He was embedded in the scene. He spoke the language. He knew exactly what ethical non-monogamy is supposed to look like, and he chose to perform it rather than practice it. That is so much more calculated than your average cheater, because your average cheater is not out here attending community events and building a whole persona around honesty. And then there is the overnight. I need to sit with this one because this is the part that really gets me. She planned an intense scene with him. She opened up about personal things she was going through. She made herself emotionally and physically vulnerable in ways that require an enormous amount of trust, and he let her. He sat there and received all of that vulnerability, knowing full well that the next morning he was going to tell her some woman was coming to stay with him for a month. He held that information the entire night and said nothing until she had one foot out the door. That is not an accident. That is not bad timing. That is a choice. He waited until she was literally leaving so that there was no space to process it properly, no time to ask questions, no room for the conversation to go anywhere. That is textbook manipulation. And when she pushed on it, the whole thing fell apart immediately because it always does. This was not an ex, this was a woman he had been seeing exclusively right before he moved. She is monogamous. She thinks she is in a faithful relationship. She has no idea. And his defense was that it was fine because things were never officially labeled. I'm sorry, but the label defense is one of the most tired things a person can say. She was exclusive with you. You were not exclusive with her, and you did not tell her that. That is cheating. Calling it something else does not change what it is. But the text is where I completely lost it. After all of that came out, after she had already seen exactly who he was, he texted her asking to meet up secretly while this woman was staying with him, because the connection was too addictive, because he couldn't wait. He wanted her to participate in the deception of a woman who doesn't even know she's being deceived, and he framed it as a compliment, like she should be flattered that he wants to sneak around for her. She shut it down, good. She shut the whole thing down, and she should have. But here is what I really want to say to her directly. You are not an idiot. You did not miss obvious signs because you were naive or careless. You trusted someone who worked very hard to appear trustworthy. That is not a failure of judgment. That is just what happens when a dishonest person is also a skilled performer. You did nothing wrong here. He did. And the fact that you are questioning your own reaction is just proof of how good he was at making himself seem reasonable. You are not crazy for being upset. You are upset because you were lied to. Those are the same thing. User Throwaway Real Girl wrote, you are not crazy for being upset. You were deliberately manipulated by someone who knew exactly what they were doing and used your vulnerability against you. Then there was a comment from Polarisps who said, the fact that he waited until you were walking out the door to tell you says everything. That was intentional. He did not want you to have time to react or ask questions. Maple Leaf Diaries left a comment saying, the overnight scene makes this so much worse. He let you be completely open and vulnerable with him, knowing he was about to drop that on you. That is not accidental. That is calculated. And finally, Kindred Wanderer wrote, please do not feel like an idiot. You vetted him the way any reasonable person would have. He just happened to be very good at pretending to be someone he was not. That is on him, not you. And that last one really says it all, doesn't it? You did everything right. He just lied better than most. And that is it for today's story on Anonymous Diary. Thank you so much for being here and for taking the time to listen. It truly means everything. This one was a lot, and I think we can all agree that this woman handled it with way more grace than most people would have. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure you drop a like. It takes 2 seconds, and it helps the channel more than you know. Make sure you are subscribed so you never miss a new story, because we are here regularly, and trust me, you do not want to miss what is coming next. And as always, I want to hear from you in the comments. Do you think she was right to cut him off immediately? Do you think people who use polyamory as a cover for cheating are worse than regular cheaters? Let me know everything. I read every single comment, and I genuinely love hearing your thoughts on these dilemmas. Thank you again for watching. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next one.